I think I've been asked this question like a million times, like a gazillion times, if I might say. Every time I speak to a rep asks me this question. Actually, someone asked me this yesterday. A lot of CEOs I speak to or I've spoken to in the past, well, while doing my interviews or when I'm having a normal chit chat with them, they would always bring this, hey, what do you think? What do you look for when that a rep will be successful? What do you think makes one rep separate from another? What do you think makes one rep successful, right? That's exactly what we're going to dive into this. But before this, before you start watching this or spend any more time, I'd like to again keep an open mind in terms of what I'm going to cover. At the same time, I'm sure there will be a lot of things which you already know, but I will try to reinforce that during my pitch. Okay. So number one thing I believe top reps are master at managing three things. Number one, their attitude. Now you might be like, hey, you know what, attitude is important in life. We all know that, but we're going to cover in terms of how you can, what it really means when we talk about sales development. At the same time, you can keep a check on your attitude during all times. No, we're going to cover that. This is the most favorite, and this is something which is very, very close to my heart. Time management. I see almost 80% of the reps kind of suck at this. Uh, while I understand there are reps, once they've spent like a couple of years, they now know how to better manage their time. I'm majorly talking about the reps who are new to the job and who think they can actually make calls at any time they think, or they can send emails when they think. So the major challenges which I see around the time management are people are calling at the wrong hours, sending email at the wrong hours, doing productive things in non-productive hours, and vice versa. So time management is absolutely crucial. There's something no one wants to talk about. Everybody is like, you know what, we are working from home. My environment right now is my parents, my family, my wife, my kids, my dog, whatever. I'm talking about environment which you can control. Something like speaking to a colleague who always talks bad about the company, who always talks about how the process sucks, how kind of prospect sucks, who is on a complaining mode. So when you speak to that colleague over and over again, you kind of subconsciously get that behavior, which is why I'm asking that you upgrade your environment. We're gonna spend a couple of minutes talking about that. Now, this is what you can do, and this is, I believe, has helped me in the past. So my dad actually got me a book called Magic of Thinking Big, The Magic of Thinking Big. It was by Dr. David Schwartz. I think the best book and probably the best book I ever read. I think post that I read Dr. something by Dr. Svetman. That was a great book too. Anyway, so these are some practical tips which I found from the book, which helped me when I was probably at a down point of my life. And I used to be very, very negative. You can't even imagine. You would not talk to me when before I got this book, before I started imbibing and practicing everything I read in the book. So I'm gonna give you a few tips. Try this on a daily basis, and you will see the difference. If you do not, we'll talk. Okay. I can bet my life that these tips will work out for you. So think about it before you start the work today. What is of utmost important that I must complete today? It could be a prospect you were thinking of reaching out, a company you were thinking of reaching out today. It could be a project which you believe if you undertake, it will help not only you, the company, and the process. You know that a colleague, let's say, is struggling with meeting the numbers, and you believe that, you can actually help her out because you've already met your quota, and this is the time you should actually, show some teamwork. You should show teamwork all the time, but yeah, I think this is the time when you can really do that because now you're not under pressure. So yeah, do that. Do whatever you think was important, but you kind of were delaying it for some reason. Try to finish just one project today. It could be anything. Now, this is the qualitative aspect. How can you do a better job? How can you do a better job today? It could be that you learned something, let's say, off the net, off the web, written by some self-leader, and you always thought, you can apply it. But when it comes to applying, you probably think, what, it's too much work. It's too much research. It's too much personalization. Do that. Think about it. Let's assume that you do not personalize any of your emails today. In order for you to do a better job, let's start very small. If you send 40 emails every day, let's pick up 10% of it. Set up a target for yourself that you're going to send just 4 emails, which will be the best emails you've ever seen, or you're actually going to send. And think about how you can really, really make them better by personalizing based on the research, based on your product, of course. It should touch a pain point. We're gonna have another session where we'll talk about how to write better emails. But for now, it could be anything. It could be that you believe that, anytime prospect asks, how are you better than the competitor, you actually freeze because your answer is probably not well rehearsed, or probably you dive directly into talking about the differences between you and your competitor. So if you think that is one area where you kind of struggle when you go to cold calls, I think this is probably one area where you can fix. Fix it today. This should be the only goal. It could be for writing 4 better emails, or it could be going with a better pitch. Now, this is the quantitative aspect. How can you do more? It could be that you believe that your conversion rate, let's say if your connect rate is, let's say, 5%. You make 100 calls, you get 5 connects. If you're able to, let's say, make 20 more calls today, that will probably get you one more connect. One more connect and one more connect every day, let's say for the next 5 days in a week, probably might get you 1 or 2 meetings. So imagine just by doing 10% or 20% more on a weekly basis. I'm not asking you to do 20% more, 20% more every day. Let's say you make 100 calls. Let's say you make 70 calls. Make it by 20%. Make 15 more calls a day. Okay, it's probably going to take you 30 more minutes to manage your time better. Like that's what we talked about, right? It could be that you're already sending 100 emails a day, but there is a scope that you can send 120. Okay, think about how you can do that. So one, think about how you can do more. How can you increase the quantity? Think about how you can do a better job at what you already do and what you're going to do more. So this is one thing I really believe capacity is a state of mind. And when I say it, what I mean is, if you set your mind to that, I'm going to send 100 emails today. If you send 80, you're going to be able to do it. Trust me, you'll be able to figure this out. How is something which we'll probably have to cover in a detailed aspect later. But for now, just focus on how you can do more, how you can do a better job at doing more. Now, this is something which no one talks about again. Everybody says, watch a motivational video, talk to a friend. Sure, those things work too. But understand one thing, and this is why I actually want to talk about a book called "What to Talk When You Talk to Yourself." This is the best sales, or this is the best self-help book you will ever read, because all the other self-help books kind of talks about what you should be thinking, or how you should not think, how your life kind of sucks, and you should think of the bigger picture. But what no book talks about is that all the motivation is going to fade away eventually. You probably start the day, let's say at 10 a.m., and you're probably at the best of the spirits. 2 hours later, you realize, you're in the same rut. It's not working out. Prospects are hanging up. Nobody's answering. Your emails are not being opened. Your boss sucks. Your company sucks. Everybody sucks. Now, it's because it's not because it's the reality. It's because you have made yourself believe that over and over again. Because that's what you say. You know what? My colleague sucks. I work at a company which doesn't pay me on time. I work for a company, which is probably bad in some other way, right? You're actually talking when you're talking to yourself. You're talking negatively. Now, instead, try to change that and say, talk positive things to yourself. Rahul, you know what? It's a beautiful day. Today, I think you will get, today, I'm pretty sure you will get 5 connects. You will be able to set up 2 meetings out of that. And out of 2 meetings, one will convert to an opportunity and one of them will also close. So talk about those things. When you believe negative things is already working for you, it's already taking you to the downward spiral. Why don't you turn it around, talk positive things, right? If you believe, you want to talk to a friend, sure, do that. I'm not denying, you shouldn't do that. However, I believe the best sort of pep talk or the best sort of motivation has to come from within. And once you read the book, just read the synopsis. If you need me to give you the link, I'll actually forward you the link. This is again one of the principles I found when I was in 12th standard, probably 16 years. It has really served me well. I believe if I set my mind to something, I can do it. And it's not that I believe, that I'm someone, so great that I can do anything. I'm sure there are things I suck at. I don't dance well. because maybe I never believed that I can dance well. So, anyways, so once you believe that you can do it, once you believe that you can set up those meetings, once you believe that no matter what the month is, no matter how the situation looks like, you will be able to meet your numbers, meet your quota. Trust me, your mind will start finding ways. Uh, I'll probably point back to the previous point when I said, and that there is a quote as well. Whether you believe you're right or whether you're not, you're right both the times, right? I don't remember the quote, but you get the idea, correct? This is another way. This is another way where how you can also upgrade your environment. Stretch your mind. When I say stretch your mind, you can always speak with people. Start with your colleagues, okay? Sometimes you struggle. Sometimes I see my reps are struggling, and one of the rep is actually doing extremely well. The rep who is not doing well will definitely come to me and say, Rahul, can you help me out? However, will probably hesitate to go to the colleague who is already doing well and figuring out ways. I think this is probably one of the ways I remember when I was an SDR in my first job. I did not perform like well for the first 2 months, and there was a colleague of mine who was obviously more experienced, and I used to always ask, "Hey, dude, how do you do it?" I used to have a colleague who was actually as tenured as I was, and she used to do better than I did, and I would always wonder, how they do it. So but sometimes without telling them, sometimes after telling them, I would listen to their calls, live calls, and see how they're doing it. Whenever they get a connect, simply, and I'm sure we all have those sophisticated systems where we can peep into what other people are doing, like, how they're taking calls, what's their style, how they're handling a simple objection, which you believe you probably suck at, or probably, you're bad at, but other people are doing it extremely well. And same could be true for them. You might be able to teach them some things. So speak with people, speak with colleagues, speak with other people, your mentors, your managers, your boss. If you don't have anybody around, you can always find mentors online. You can always go to people and say, hey, can we do like a weekly catch up or bi-weekly catch up? I would come up with 5 different challenges I have, and I would be in return, I would be able to help you with few things. Always figure out new ways of doing things, because like they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So you might want to try different things, but not all the time. Like, you should not be changing your style every time. You should at least try things 1 week for 1 week to see if they work. It's like when you test something on the skin, you want to test that and give it 24 hours to see if things are working or not. You're not getting a rash. So yeah, do that ways. This is very interesting and very close to my heart. How should a successful rep think like? So if you believe, if you're into stocks, I'm sure you already worship Warren Buffett. You're an entrepreneur, you want to worship Steve Jobs. Also understand all these great people, kind of um, would attribute their success to certain principles. One of them, I believe, is how they think. No one really teaches us. Everybody is trying to really teach us, what to think. Nobody really teaches us how to think. Okay, that's where I believe our education system kind of failed us, our parents failed us, our society failed us. I'll actually put a link to a TED talk I watched recently. It's actually around the same topic as to what to think. Sorry, how to think and not what to think. So it's a great one, like 10 minutes if you have time. Yeah, do watch that whenever you get time. Let's talk about how the successful rep really think like. I've had good reps, I've had bad reps, I've had successful reps. Um, One thing which I believe successful do not do is to not get bogged down when something bad happens to them. Similarly, when they get a meeting, they also do not get very happy. They simply move on to the next role. That's what you will see a pattern in successful people. They will move on to the next milestone, which so if they're happy, they get something big. So if I were to talk about, let's say, Elon Musk, he successfully launched the rocket, right? It's not that he's gonna rest on his laurels now and simply say, you know what, I've done enough. I'm gonna take my retirement, and sip my margaritas, and do not care about the next milestone. No, that's not what they're gonna do. They are going to go to the next milestone. Similarly, when they fail, they do not uh, put so much effort in thinking, hey, what did I do wrong? Of course, they wanna figure out what was the reason of failure, learn from it, make sure they do not repeat it. Similarly, when you have a bad call prospect, prospect asks you a question which could have actually turned down the whole engagement, turned down the whole meeting. You failed at it. Fine. move on. If you think it's happening over and over again, that's probably a pattern. You want to solve that. So find out how you can, do the job better, like we talked about. But do not let this worry. Do not let this, get to your head. Good or bad call, just move on. You meet your 100% target, by 20th of the month, then you can of course rest. I'm not denying that. Uh, Also think about, okay, let's go back to the previous point. Also understand this is how successful people, this is how successful reps work. They do not get bogged down. Uh, and coming to the second point, sometimes I see reps have brilliant ideas. So understand, when I manage a team, I am not actively calling my prospect. The last time I spoke to a prospect was probably April or May. And I used to cold call. I used to set up meetings myself. So I know how the job is done, of course. But at the same time, I see sometimes reps have brilliant ideas, but they're probably hesitant. Sometimes they think, what would the world think? What would my manager think? What would my other colleagues think? They're afraid to say this in the forum. They're afraid to say this separately because they think they're not meeting the numbers, and manager would probably not want to hear ideas from people who are not meeting the number. But trust me, that's not the idea. Sometimes those ideas are great, simply great. So if you have an idea, think about all the successful people really became successful by acting on those ideas. If you have an idea, do share those ideas with the team. A lot of people might have different opinion on this. This is my opinion. So, and I totally understand and acknowledge that people do not want to believe in this. I believe how you dress up, how you present yourself says a lot about yourself. Uh, Now, I know you must be thinking about the Instagram quotes, Instagram pictures. Hey, you know what? Mark Zuckerberg wears the same clothes every day. There are tons of people. That's how Instagram is kind of promoting this stuff, right? Which is fine. I don't condemn them. But the way I see dressing up or talking about appearance, would you go to White House and dress up the way you're actually dressing up right now, sitting on your shorts? Would you do that? Would you go to a party, dressing up the way you do right now? Why would you dress up the way you do right now? And when I say dress up, I do not mean, women with the makeup. I do not mean people in the suits, tie and all everything. When I see when I talk about appearance, I mean, are you sitting straight? Do you have a comfortable place where you can sit? You can actually work. You have a clean place. When you Let's assume that you have to really speak to a prospect, on Zoom call. Would you go with the stubble you have? Would you go with the beard you have? Would you go with the wake up hair look you have right now? Would you still sit in the shots? I know people are like, what, only the first part is visible, half part is visible, so I'm okay. Okay, if that's how you want to work with that, because I believe how you do one thing is how you know another. So I believe appearance really talks to you and other people. And when you see somebody who is dressed well, you kind of think, and this is how human psychology works. Here is an important person. I believe he's successful, he's prosperous, intelligent, independent, and people would want to talk to those people versus somebody who is dressed shabbily, right? So I think that's how human psychology works. Uh, Whatever you're reading, okay, you could be reading something, let's say a magazine, you could be reading something on the blog. Let's say you're reading a sales blog, okay? Someone And this is what I say to people when people say, what, I read something in the blog. I always ask them what's the source of the blog. Sometimes people don't remember. And sometimes if they do, it does not make any sense because what happens as someone, let's say if you're a sales rep, you are trying to make your mark, it's your first year or it's your second year, and you think, let's say, highly of somebody else. And these people, let's say, go on LinkedIn or, write their own blog and talk about something which you believe you never thought of. And you're like, what, this is different. I'm going to try it. What people do not do is people do not think about whether this makes sense. What is the data behind it? If somebody says, what, my rep makes 10 calls a day and gets 10 meetings, that sounds unbelievable. Yeah, let's go with that. Sure, they might have a different way. I would want to understand how did they do it. I would want to understand what is the data behind it. So anything you read, first of all, do not believe. That's how successful people think. Successful people do not blindly believe anything, do not blindly read anything and simply believe on it. Even if you read it, I would say give it a thought and let it rest in your head, sleep on it, and see if it makes sense. You want to try it? Go ahead, try for a week. If it works, yeah, fantastic. Let's go with that. Uh, I think I've mentored about 20, 30 reps so far in my career, and I see a lot of folks spend a lot of time. Again, we all are young. Most of them are younger than me. And I see them, spending a lot of time in social media. First of all, everybody knows when you're online right now, even if you're not, it's okay. The point is you're not trying to hide from anybody else. You're trying to hide from yourself. What I mean to say is, if you're a successful rep and if you know what you're going to achieve throughout the day, you would not want to spend time on your trivial things, especially in the middle of the day. I'm not saying do not spend time on Instagram, Facebook. Everybody does. I do it when I'm getting ready. I do it during my lunch break, during the sometime before I sleep. We are all guilty. We are not insane. We all do it. The best way I can tell you how successful people kind of manage social media is, and this is how I learned is, I would put all my notifications on off. So I have Instagram, Facebook, everything on my phone, like every single app you can imagine. Um, but I do not have the notifications on. So I find out about people commenting, people reading, people wishing or messaging is when I go to the app, and that's when I do it. When I do it is when I get time during my lunch breaks. I do not keep checking my phone every time and now and then. Most of the time, my phone is on DND. There's no one who is actually trying to call me. If my parents want to call me, they can reach out to my wife or somebody else. There's nobody who is as important as the work when I'm actually working. And don't get me wrong, of course, my wife can always call me, and barge in at my desk if she wants to. But the point is, there are better ways to manage times. And this is the last one, okay? You can relax. This is the last one. I've seen a lot of reps who are probably not confident about what they're doing or probably do not think highly of themselves. And this is the crucial difference, which I found after interviewing like more than 50 people, is how people think of themselves and how people think of their job. A lot of reps I speak to, they'll be like, hey, you know what? I'm just like an entry level job. My goal is, of course, higher, which is absolutely okay. But you cannot be thinking low of yourself, low, and at the same time think um, low on your job. Always think that your work is important. The best way I can tell you is, and this is how I used to tell people when my parents used to ask, "Hey, what do you do?" You know what I would tell them? My job is actually the most important job in the company, because if I do not get meetings, if I do not call, if I do not send emails, if I do not get the biz, I do not get those deals in front of my account executive, none of them will get closed. We will not get the revenue. Nobody will get paid. So everybody gets paid because I am working. That's probably a funky way to think about it, but yeah, I think that will work for me. Um, um, yeah, so think of your job as very important, and trust me, this will not only help you, this will also help the peers, the colleagues you have, because once you believe your work is important, your colleagues will also think that your work is important. So in a way, you're doing a social favor. Okay, think about it. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, these were my ways. This is how I think. This is how I believe I was successful. This is how I believe I have seen other successful reps thinking. So I just wanted to share this with you, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this. Let me know if you have anything else you want to cover in the next topics.